Hey guys, this is from Corporate Connection. Hello viewers and subscribers. Please contact us on contentcorporateconnexion at gmail.com for artificial intelligence projects, machine learning projects, Python projects and Java projects for all degree students. Have you ever wondered how Netflix predicts what you'll watch next or how companies predict sales for next month? What if I told you that one of the simplest machine learning models powers all of this? Welcome back to the channel. This is Corporate Connection, and today we are going to learn linear regression, the easiest and most important machine learning concept you will ever learn. If you are a beginner in machine learning, data science, or AI, this video is specially designed for you. By the end of this video, you will clearly understand what linear regression is, how it works visually, why it is the foundation of machine learning. So grab a notebook, stay till the end, and let's begin your ML journey. Let's start with the most basic question. What is linear regression? Linear regression is a machine learning technique used to find a relationship between two variables. One variable is something we already know, called the input. The other is something we want to predict, called the output. For example, study hours is the input, exam marks will be the output. Advertising spend is the input, and revenue obtained will be the output. Experience will be the input, and the salary received will be the output. Linear regression tries to draw a straight line that best represents this relationship. So, simply put, linear regression predicts an output by learning from past data using a straight line. This is why it's called linear regression. Now, let's talk about the line of best fit, which is the heart of our linear regression. Look at the diagram on the slide. You can see many scattered data points. Each point represents a real world observation. The goal of linear regression is to draw one straight line that stays as close as possible to all these points. This line is called the line of best fit. Why is it important? Because the closer the line is to the points, the more accurate our predictions become. So remember, linear regression doesn't just draw any line, it draws the best possible line. That is the line of best fit. Now comes the most famous formula in machine learning. Y is equal to mx plus b. Don't panic, this is much simpler than it looks. Y is what we want to predict, that is the output. X is what we already know, that is the input. M is the slope of the line. B is where the line starts on the y axis. This single formula powers salary prediction, price prediction, sales forecasting, trend analysis. So, yes, machine learning can start with just one single equation. Let's zoom in on one very important part, the slope, represented by m. The slope tells us how fast y changes when x changes. If the slope is positive, as x increases, y shall also increase. Negative, as x increases, y shall decrease. Steep, a strong relationship, wherein flat, a weak relationship. Quick rule to remember, the slope shows how much y changes for every 1 unit increase in x. This is extremely useful in decision making. So, if you are good to go with breaking down the slope, now let's understand this with a real world example. Imagine a company tracking advertising spend versus revenue. Step 1 is to collect the past data. Step 2 is to plot spend on x-axis and revenue on the y-axis. Step 3 is to draw the line of best fit. Step 4 is to predict the future revenue. This is exactly how companies plan their budgets. Linear regression turns raw numbers into smart businesses decisions. Now, let us slow down here because this slide is extremely important. This is where theory becomes real and where most beginners finally understand linear regression. Look closely at the diagram on this slide. On the horizontal axis, also called the x-axis, we have our input variable. This could be things like study hours, advertising spend, years of experience. On the vertical axis or the y-axis, we have our output variable. This could be exam marks, revenue, or salary. Now, notice these individual dots scattered across the graph. Each dot represents one real data point from the real world. For example, one student studied 4 hours and scored 60 marks. Another student studied 6 hours and scored 75 marks. So every dot is telling a story from past data. Now here comes the most important part, the straight line drawn through the middle of these points. This line is called the line of best fit. Why is it called the best fit? Because this line is drawn in such a way that it stays as close as possible to all the points. The total error between the points and the line is minimized. Some points are slightly above the line, some points are slightly below the line, and that is completely normal in real world data. What matters is the overall trend. Now observe the direction of the line. You can clearly see that as x increases, y also increases. This tells us that there is a positive linear relationship between the variables. In simple words, more input leads to more output. Now here is the magic. Once this line is drawn, we can use it to predict values we have never seen before. For example, if a student studies for 7 hours, we simply go to 7 on the x-axis, move up till we touch the line, and then read the predicted value on the y-axis. That predicted value is the output given by our linear regression model. So this diagram shows the entire workflow of linear regression. Collect data, plot points, draw the best fit line, and use the line to predict future outcomes. This is why linear regression is so powerful. It converts past data into future predictions using just a simple straight line. So I hope this graph was very clear to you. This is how the example works when you plot a graph. Let's see how linear regression helps in practice. Forecasting. Predict future values like sales, prices, or demand. Decision making. Understand how changes affect outcomes. Optimization. Find the best input value for maximum result. This is why linear regression is used everywhere, from startups to even some big tech companies. You might ask, why should beginners start here? Here's why. Easy to understand, visual and intuitive, minimal coding, very fast, and foundation for advanced ML models. Once you master linear regression, learning the logistic regression, neural networks, and deep learning becomes much easier. This is your first step into machine learning. So that is why start with linear regression. Let's quickly summarize. Linear regression finds patterns. It predicts one variable using another. The formula y is equal to mx plus b is the core. It is the foundation of machine learning. Alright, it's time for quiz. let's have a quiz session now. So today's quiz questions are: first one, in the linear regression graph, what does each dot data point represent? A random guess, one real world data record, input and output together, the prediction line, and finally an error value. So select the option of your choice and mark that in the Gmail. Second one, what is the purpose of the line of best fit? To connect all the dots exactly, to remove incorrect data, to stay as close as possible to all data points and minimize error, and last option, to show only future data. So select your choice of option. If the line in the graph slopes upward from left to right, what does it indicate? No relationship, negative relationship, positive relationship, and random behavior. How do we use the line to make a prediction? Choose the nearest dot, extend the line to the x value and read the y value, average all points, count the number of dots. Last question is, why are some data points above or below the line? The graph is incorrect, the line is drawn randomly, real world data always has variation and error, linear regression failed. So these are today's 5 questions. Answer the quiz questions and email your answers to contentcorporateconnexion@gmail.com. Drop your answers by email. I personally will read them. The subject of your mail should be linear regression hands-on quiz. Include your name, college, and then followed by your answers for the 5 questions. Remember, top answers will be featured in the next video, and you will also avail a free AI toolkit and a free AI training course. If this video helped you understand linear regression clearly, please like, share, and subscribe to Corporate Connection. More beginner friendly machine learning, data science, and AI videos are coming very soon. This is just the beginning of your ML journey. See you in the next video. Happy coding, and yes, do not forget to subscribe to Corporate Connection. Thank you.